Today we attempted the toughest challenge I've attempted yet. It came straight from hell. In fact, this won't end unless I get Carlisle United into the Premier League or we get sacked. The big stipulation is this horrible wheel with some of the weirdest, worst and most disgusting tactics you've ever seen. So the story is with Carlisle United, but the team isn't really the story here. The stipulation is the story in this case, and that wheel can either make or break us. So remember, at the start of every season, we will spin this wheel to decide the tactic for that season. And a second spin will decide if we have to respin at the halfway point of the season. Now, I haven't completely screwed myself over. They are all my tactics. Some of them I know are pretty decent. You've got Stingsy Flick, which is the Barcelona recreation. What else have you got in there? I mean, I am looking at 6 Trequartistas, triple libero, everybody roams, the 2 This is going to be a nightmare. And all of this, we've got to get my local side, Carlisle United, back into the Premier League, or we're going to get sacked, one of the two. It's pretty pointless even analysing the squad yet to see what we need to get in until I know what tactic I'm going to have to use in Season 1.
Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
So here we go then, to the wheel we go. The first tactic we will be using in League 2 as part of this rebuild to get us promoted will be... Ooh! The greatest attack. Let me explain. So the greatest attack comes from this video here. The greatest attacking link-up ever in Football Manager. So as part of the challenge, I ended up getting that link-up into our attacking team. But that was with Fenerbahce, not with Carlisle United. And there you see it loaded in. You've got your front 5. But also, I forgot this. You've got 2 liberos as well. This is not going to end well. Thankfully, we've got a pretty decent sized squad for this, but I'm not confident. I would have been more confident if these roles weren't liberos and attacking wingbacks. I mean, this is carnage. Well then, maybe I shouldn't have been that worried, because in pre-season, we looked electric. We absolutely dismantled some lower league teams, and it got even more oppressive against St Johnstone from Scotland. And remember, St Johnstone are in the Premiership. When we've got the ball, our shape looks a bit like that. Maybe this has got potential. So pre-season has got me thinking, maybe this can actually do something. Now, don't get me wrong. I noticed this, that when we win the ball back here, the 2 centre-backs, the liberos, Thomas and Lavelle, watch them. I mean, they are sprinting forward. They don't care about the back line. And it's the half-back who's staying back. Everyone else is just going for it. So, with a perfect pre-season, what could we achieve in the first half of this season? When we get to December the 31st, that's when we'll spin the wheel again, and that will decide if we change our tactic. Let's see how they do. So we've made it to New Year's Eve, and as you can see, the boys at the top are linking up like an absolute dream. I am staggered. Even more staggering, we are top of the league. Only losing 4 matches. I am staggered they have managed to adapt to this tactic so well. And in fact, if you look at the player stats, goals, average rating, assists, we are completely dominating. What a run they've had, and there's some big standout results gone on here. Gary Neville, are you watching, son? We absolutely murdered you 7-0.
Atrocious, awful, disgusting.
Who would have thought that a double libero combination with 5 up front destroy this league? So folks, at the minute we are well on our way to getting up to League 1, which is the first step on our journey. The problem is that I stupidly gave myself the stipulations where at this point of the season we spin a wheel again to decide if we then spin a wheel again for a new tactic. I just want to keep this tactic now. I just want to keep it. So the first spin of the wheel will be very simple. Yes or no. If it lands on yes, then we must spin the tactic wheel again for the second half of the season. I am praying that this bad boy stays on no, because we're obviously smashing this league up. Son of a... Okay, so that now means, despite being top of the league and absolutely crushing the opposition, we have to abort that tactic that we've been using, and now we have to spin the wheel again for the second half of the season. This could be a bottle job that even Tottenham would be devastated with. So for the second half of the season, we will be using 5 box-to-box midfielders. Basically, all those guys that are strikers are now going to get dragged back. This is not going to go well. So this is coming from this video here, 5 box-to-box midfielders that we used in a season. So one last look at the glorious league table as we leave our attacking tactic. 9 points clear with about 22 matches to go. And that beautiful formation will be gone, and we're going to replace it with the 5 box-to-box. And there it is. Oh, Jesus.
Cut the show. I'm done.
They say never change a winning team, but we've just completely destroyed it. We've gone from 5 up front to 1 up front. This is going to crush us because, for example, John Mellish, who was playing up front for us as a false 9, now moves back to box midfielder, even though he scored 19 times. Okay, at the minute, we're on a great run. We've won like 10 out of the last 12, and I'm just hoping we've got enough points in the bag to get us up. I'm not going to make any transfers yet because I think the squad's been pretty damn good. And if you look at the average ratings of the first 11, that's pretty exceptional. Godspeed. How did the switch up do? The close to the season was horrific, look at that. But thankfully we'd banked enough points in that first half of the season to claim the title in League 2. I don't know if it was momentum from the first half of the season, so all the players were buzzing, but we managed to get over the line. The second half of the season, I think we lost 8 matches. Let's have a look at it. You can see where we took over in January, and it wasn't great, was it? And the end of the season was absolutely stinking, but we'd done enough, and we go up as champions. Now, as far as the squad goes, we go to League 1 and we will be making some transfers. But before we can make any transfers, we need to know what I am planning for. So it's time to spin that blooming wheel again. Season 1 went about as well as we could expect. We start Season 2 in League 1 with Everybody Roams. Okay, Everybody Roams. Alright, so this one comes from one of the most popular videos on the channel where I played every position roaming. So the box did as well, shockingly. Not as great as the very attacking, but hey, we're in League 1, so part of the journey is underway. So we need to get rid of that now and replace it with the Everybody Roams. So there it is, the Roamers. And again, we're back to our friends, the Liberos, but this time they are actually on support. So they're going to go even more daft. We've got a roaming playmaker, a register. Both wing backs will roam as well. A trequartista, it's everybody. Even the inverted winger, which is more of a normal position. When I click on him, you'll see we added roam from position to him as well. So now I need to look at the squad and decide if I need anyone brought in. What's wild, and this is a player you should all look to buy. John Mellish spent half the season as a false 9, half the season as a Secunde Volante, and now I'm recommended to use him as a libero. So I had a good look, and there was about 3 positions I thought we needed to get some players in. And to be fair, at our level, we had a pretty handy transfer budget. Going into the League 1 campaign, we were ranked down at 14th at 33-1. Hoping to change that, we made about 6 or 7 signings. Standouts included Sean McAllister on loan from Everton, veteran midfielder Marlon Pack, Parc de Prem legend Callum Hulme, and a host of other signings. And then they were all slotted into the Roamers formation. The Liberos on support still worries me because there's going to be so many gaps, but let's see how they do. The promising thing was in pre-season that we pushed Southampton to the limit. But the most promising thing was the first game of the season against one of the title favourites, Plymouth Argyle, we bamboozled them and grabbed the win. The Roamers completely baffled Mr. Rooney, and yeah, as expected, as soon as we get the ball, everybody just goes all over the place, including the centre-backs. So we've got that first win. Let's see how we do all the way up until December the 31st. Okay, it's the halfway point, and we started really good, super solid, and a run of games where we didn't lose in ages, but just recently it looks like teams have started to find us out. Despite that, we're on the edge of the playoffs with 41 points. We've lost only 5 matches, but they've all come pretty recent. Right, could have been worse, and the team actually are linking up pretty well. This boy, Georgie Kelly's a bit of a goal machine. He scored a ton last year and he scored a ton this year. And if I look closely at the league table, we're in the ballpark. It could have been a lot worse, this. Unsurprisingly, we are conceding a truckload of goals with 37, but we are playing 2 liberos on support. Or are we? Because now it's time to go to the wheel to see if we use a new tactic for the second half of the season. I'm torn on this one because I think this one might get us in the playoffs. So first up, let's see if we do stick with the tactic or change. And we're changing. But there are some tactics in here that would give us a final push, but there's also some pretty horrific ones as well. And we are going to end up with, speaking of horrific, the ugliest tactic in Football Manager 24 for the rest of the season. Now this one is from the FM Stories series we've done. There it is, the #1 ugly tactic. And believe it or not, this one is actually inspired by Pep Guardiola, but you wouldn't know it by looking at it. That's what we're running with for the rest of the season. Believe it or not, this actually worked pretty well. We copied a bit of a hybrid of what Pep was doing with De Bruyne out wide, so we can use that. And it actually worked pretty well with Roma in the series we did. Good news is we've got a false 9, so we can probably move Mellish back into his false 9 spot, where he scored 20 goals last season. It's the rest of the team I don't know what to do with. So we've got 20 matches left for the season, and we're only 2 points off the playoffs. Automatic looks out of the equation, doesn't it, with 11? I mean, what can we do with this? Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. So it was a bit harsh that our first go with the tactic was an away game in the FA Cup against Arsenal, and they hit us 4-7. Fair to say it took us a little while to shake that off, but the end of the season was outrageous. We destroyed Blackpool 4-1, got a good 2-1 over Deadpool's Wrexham, and our last game of the season was this 11-goal epic against title favourites Stoke City. That epic run means we're 4th place in the league. We go to the playoffs, and Stoke City, by the way, are going down to League 2. What has happened there? Things have got so wild the Hatters came off. We have played fantastically well. The defenders aren't enjoying it. They don't really understand what's going on. Mellish looks like he's been playing at wide centre-back and not false 9, which is absolutely fine. The more they've played it, the more they've managed to adapt to it. Goal machine, Kelly, another 30 goals. Question is, how can we do in the playoffs? It looks like we'll be playing Oxford first up. And the big news was we absolutely smashed Oxford at home 4-1 with Georgie Kelly scoring another hat-trick. They couldn't deal with our formation. Problem was, they'd already beat us 6-1 in the first leg. So yeah, we're out. Where the hell did that 6-1 come from? We were flying, and then out of nowhere, 6-1. Great effort in the second leg, but it's another season in League One. So there's a host of these players out of contract, so we'll have to decide who we keep, but we can't do that until we see what we're playing for next season. What I would love is a nice, normal tactic, something like the Stinsy Flick, which is basically a high-pressing 4-2-3-1, or one of the old-school Championship Manager tactics would be nice. That might be even better, though. Lower League Killer. So the Lower League Killer is the factory tactic, which I've put on my second channel. Tested it with a whole host of lower league clubs, and it got promoted every time. So I'm hoping this will do the business and give us a good lead going into December. It's a good job we've got a decent squad, because our transfer budget is nowhere near as good as last year. So I'll probably concentrate on renewing these deals for players that we already have. That is, if they weren't turning into greedy little shits. Our new favourite player is out for 10 months. That's great. Our squad is already good enough for League One, but we've bulked it up with some Premier League signings, loan signing from Manchester United, Newcastle and Man City. With a cheeky free transfer from Liverpool, and we actually spent money on a player from Stoke, Reno Moto. Mellish will be out injured for most of the season, so our boy from Liverpool will jump in there. As seems to be tradition, another great pre-season with this demolition of Montpellier. So we're set and good to go. We need this tactic to fire to give us a big lead for December the 31st. It's the only way, because that wheel will bite us. Come on! Right, we are back. It's New Year's Eve, and I am pleased to say the boys have absolutely killed it. We've got a promotion chasing squad here. The tactic's perfect for this level, and we're sitting top, and not only top, we have got a decent gap to third place Sheffield Wednesday of 9 points. In fact, we've got a good gap over second place Charlton. It's all going perfectly. But it's time for the wheel to decide if we're allowed to carry on with this tactic. If we carry on with this tactic, we're getting into the Championship. So right now we are praying for an... Are you kidding me? So we leave behind a tactic that guarantees us basically promotion to the Championship for one of these, and this is not going to go well, is it? Have we had one where we can stay on the same tactic yet? For the second half of the season, we will have Stingsy Flick. That is the best scenario we could possibly have got. So look, we're leaving behind the factory, a guaranteed promotion killing tactic, but we're flipping it to this one. This is a very recent video on the channel, basically replicating the way Flick set up Barcelona. So potentially we've averted a disaster there, because that should see us over the line. It's basically a 4-2-3-1. In FM, it bloody works. So I won't lie to you, playing that formation, which was built for a Barcelona team, kind of was a bit scary. The hard work was done at the start. The second half of the season was decent, but it was a massive, massive drop-off. But this penalty in the 100th minute got us promoted to the Championship. This man's been a legend, but he's leaving us, damn it. But back to the good news. We win League One with 87 points, just about getting over the line ahead of Charlton, Blackburn and Wednesday, three massive clubs. What a result. That was probably the two best tactics for that situation. So we got really lucky. If you look at the data hub and analyst report, you can see the two formations we used there. So the first one was the factory, plus 30 chances in the 26 matches. When we flipped it to this, they didn't have as good a time look, -5 clear-cut chances. They weren't enjoying Barca ball, but but thankfully the factory tactic, the lower league killer, did the heavy lifting. That now means we are making strides to get Carlisle to the Premier League in the hardest rebuild we could do. 2 seasons in League One, but we have done it. So all is rosy, but we are going into the notoriously hard Championship, and the other problem is we've used up quite a few of the good tactics. Some of these on here are quite disgusting, and now it's time to find out what tactic we start the Championship with, and it will be, oh Jesus Christ. If you're wondering why I was so devastated, the 2 tactic is just that. It's a tactic in the shape of the number 2.
What?
So next season in the Championship, we start the campaign using that. The good news for next season is we do have £1 million in the transfer kitty, but how do you plan for a 2 tactic? Like how? So into the Championship, and unsurprisingly, we are 300 to 1 and predicted to finish rock bottom. They've probably seen the tactic I'm about to play. And loads of players are out of contract and left us, and I don't even have someone to fill the striker position, and it is an absolute shower. It's a shambles, and I've got loads of work to do. The romantic pre-season, we brought in a raft of players, and I just made it the best players I could possibly get. Because let's be real, what's the point buying players for that formation? There's a few good standout players. A lot of them have come from released Premier League teams. We also got a killer player on loan from Liverpool, if only they knew what he was getting himself into. Right, we're about to get going with this. Our only hope is that we don't get set adrift at the bottom of the Championship, and then when we get to December, we can get a different tactic to help us survive. Because even pre-season wasn't very good. I just wish we were playing in France because we keep beating Montpellier. It's December the 31st. I think the first thing to say is we've still got a job, which is pretty wild when you consider our first game of the season. Mellish did that after 10 minutes, and we got beat 6-0. And unsurprisingly, we have taken some thumpings along the way. But in a weird way, some teams don't know what to do when they play against us, such as Sunderland when we hit them for 6. And look at those match facts. I mean, that is domination. So, as a whole, I am amazed that we've got the amount of wins that we've had so far. Meaning, we're out of the relegation zone. We're sitting 17th. That isn't a bad position to be, considering we're using that. Amazed, staggered, delighted, all those, somehow, somewhere, we're doing all right. We're doing all right. So sitting 17th, we are approximately, at the moment, 9 points clear of relegation. So if we can get a nice tactic now, we should be alright.
Heritage.
My thoughts are it can't get any worse, but hopefully one of these tactics can get us out of the mud, and that is Scramjet 24. So Scramjet was my replication of a tactic that was really popular in Championship Manager 03-04. And that, friends, is Scramjet. I mean, it's still pretty manic looking, but at least it's got some sort of structure with someone on both flanks. I'm pretty confident this will have enough to keep us in this league. Probably unsurprisingly at the minute, we have the worst defence in the league with 62. Now keep a clock on this. We've lost 13 matches. Somehow we've managed to win 9, which has blown my mind. But we've got about 19 matches left to go to survive. Confidence may have been misplaced as we went into this second half of the season with Scramjet. It started with an 8-1 defeat in the FA Cup. And the bad form continued as we got pummeled by nearly everybody. Apart from randomly beating Deadpool's Wrexham 6-2. However, wins were few and far between and losses were everywhere. I kid you not, it took a last day win against bottom of the table Bolton to get us over the line and survive in the Championship by 1 point. I'm getting too old for this. That was 2 bad tactics that nearly screwed all our hard work up. The analyst report isn't pretty. The second half of the season was a -13. Who would have thought that the 2 tactic and the results it got us kept us in this league? Because if you look at it, they were way better in the first half of the season. And you get to January here and oh my God, it just fell to pieces. We survived the Championship despite conceding 111 goals.
Absolute rubbish.
I have never been so happy to see this wheel before in my life. My thoughts are it can't get any worse than that. So next up, we go into it with Iodine 24. Now this is a tactic from another old edition of FM. I'm just hoping it does better than the last one. Okay, this one I'm a bit more confident in. It's a normal shape, there's good structure to it, and we've already got decent players at the club that should fit right in. Right dudes, we're skint. Let's be real, we're skint. So we managed to get 2 players in. Experienced striker Isaac Success from Serie A, and this little wonder kid potentially from AS Monaco on loan. There's a team I have no idea if they're going to help us get to the Premier League. We are predicted to finish bottom again, and joining us in this league this year are Brentford, Leicester, Leeds, Fulham. After a start to the season where we didn't score for 6 matches, we finally got going. So at the halfway point, we're sitting 12th, which is a pretty decent spot to be in. 8 points off the playoffs and 10 points clear of relegation. It all depends how this goes. So first off, are we going to change tactics? I think if we stick to it, we might make a little charge here. And it looks like we're going to stick with it for the first time. We stick with the tactic, no spin. Okay, so January sucked, but February onwards was really good. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough, and we're stuck in 14th. I don't know if we're ever going to get out of this league. At least the right way. So into the 3rd season in the Championship, and this is what we are left with. Now, looking at those, I don't know which of those, if any, will get us up. Maybe Diablo? Maybe player like Pep? Of course, a lot of them can get us relegated. But for the first half of this season, we will be hitting Diablo. This could be our best chance. Diablo comes from the video of the CM0304 one, and hopefully we do better than we did with Scramjet. So Diablo's locked in, it's a 4-4-2, and the big point about this tactic was, and why it broke the game back in the day, was that the 2 strikers got out of the way in effect, and the central midfielder just boomed goals in. So we're going to try and find ourselves the perfect attacking midfielder for it. I mean, to be fair, we've probably got him at the club now. He's from Monaco, he's on loan, but they're going to take him back, I know they are. A new season, I swear to God, these odds are getting worse. 400 to 1. From the moment deadline day signing, Spaniard Maris did this. Giving us a 5-2 win over Luton, I knew this one was the best chance we're going to have to get out of the Championship. And as it stands, with about 20 matches to go, we are 2nd in the table. So this is definitely the best chance we've got to get these boys into the Premier League and achieve our goal. The problem is, I don't think we've got enough points at the minute because, as you can see, we've got Fulham right behind us and the playoffs are only 9 clear. Unless the most important wheel spin of this story happens now. We need to see a big fat no. Do we spin the tactic wheel again? Oh, you have got to be kidding me. There is no good result here. We've got hoofball, which might give us a slight chance. Extreme narrow, no attack, 6 treks, triple libero, strikerless, or player like Pep. Ah, we were so close, dudes. As the wheel spins the second half of this season, our best chance to get promoted to the Premier League will be the legendary hoofball. Alright. The hoofball story is the most viewed video on my channel. People love a bit of long ball football. Right, so in goes hoofball. I've got a couple of versions. I'm going to try and find the one that got me Wickham promoted to the Premier League. That will be our best chance. It's exactly what it says on the tin though. Much more direct passing, aiming for the target forwards without and out wingers. And the good news is both of our strikers, Mari and Success, are both over 6 foot. Alright team, can hoofball get us to the promised land? Because if it doesn't, we might have to rely on 6 trequartistas and 3 liberos, and I ain't got time for that. First game in January, we lost 4-0. However, all was not lost as we played top of the table Oxford and smashed them on the break 3 times with hoofball. Unfortunately, we hit a bad run after that, really bad. And we dropped all the way down to 9th, missing out on the playoff by 3 points.
It's a disgrace.
Needless to say, this squad wasn't actually built for hoofball. I mean, this sums it up as a season. There you can see we started slowly, then we started building up, and then for a good period of matches, we were 2nd, going up, and then in January, well, that happened. So my guys, I am about to fail this challenge, and to add insult to injury, there's blooming fireworks going off and people who think that's a good idea. I am raging. Right, one more season. This is the season we're going for it, and we will start the season with triple libero. And this tactic will be supplied by the Libero story playlist, where we did every tactic with some sort of Libero combination. We're going to hit up this one here. And it looks a little bit like this. We've got a flat back 5. I mean, I say flat because we've got 2 Liberos that will bomb on and another one that will jump a little bit higher up as well. It's ugly, but at this stage, we can try anything. We ended up changing Libero tactics halfway through to this one. And this is why. We are rooted to the bottom of the league with 11 points, and this is the sort of message I've been dealing with for the past month. So this, friends, simply has to land on yes, because if it lands on no, we are getting sacked and I will have failed. Glory be, come on. Okay, so one of these 5 tactics has to save our job and keep us in this league. Otherwise, we're going to get sacked and it's going to be a pretty embarrassing end to this story. And the tactic that will do it, hopefully, will be my man, Pep. It's time for you to save me.
Of course, yes.
I've got a million Guardiola tactics. This is the latest one I've done, and that's the one I'm going to put all my faith in. Problem is, I reckon we've got like 3 matches max to save our job, and we're 10 points adrift, so help. And Pep never let me down as we won our first match after the break, but then we only won 1 out of the next 16, rooted to the bottom of the table, relegated, and I was sacked. Well, we were going to get promoted if I didn't have to spin this. I'm never using a wheel again. Absolutely sick to death of it.